therefore it is nothing can change that space to be anything else. Even if we did some construction, or maybe we decided to make use of the place, it should not be permanent, and one day it will be used as a road. So I said, because one day it will be a road, the best thing to do is to have it a road then. And therefore I went to the clerk again and said, oh, I'm told that road will remain a road, and it's a government road, and it should be done a road. So, and she asked me, what do we do? Reason why she was concerned also is because one of the what do you call them? Today we call them the MCAs. Then they were not MCAs, they were councillors. One of the councillor had fought with the clergy, and this time she didn't want such a scenario again. And we actually agreed to do what was right. And she allowed me to have a grader. So what was making this Wazee's fight every other time was cleared, including the fence that was beyond the borders, and therefore we did the fence again, and it was like, and they were quiet. Now they were ready to listen to me, and I started preaching the gospel.
Revival again.
And that gave me again room to make these leaders, because they were elderly. I couldn't just harass them. I couldn't just talk to them anyhow. I had to respect them, but I had to show them that what they were doing was not right. The church started vibrating. The parish grew, and the organization, the church, the arrangement was different. But just as we picked again, I was moved to Kiaomboi parish.
These are moving revival. This one.
That happens in Anglican Church, and it's at times it's good. It's good again because you gain experience, you get different challenges, and creates vigor. And at Kiaomboi, we found the challenge where the church had been built for quite a long time and had stayed. It was a complete church, remaining some finishes, and then the bishop would come for consecration. And major reason why they had not gotten the church consecrated was because they had arrears. And what was needed was to hammer the gospel about giving. I found people who are ready to hear. I found people who are ready to be corrected, to be directed, and to be shown what to do. And speaking about giving themselves, giving to the church, giving, and they were ready not only to give what they had, but also to get others come and give. And I remember approaching Bishop in the first 6 months and telling him that we are ready for consecration of the church, and he wondered where we were going to get money. And Kumbe people had already decided they are going to give, including their logbooks. And my archdeacon was like, are you sure these things are going to happen? And it really happened. And Bishop was convinced. The congregation was even ready to go for a loan. And Bishop said, if it is for paying quota, let's not go for a loan, but we can do something different. We want to trust that you're going to pay the quota. And people swore to give to the end. And though by the time he was coming for consecration, we had not really cleared, but we were really set to see that every other coin will be cleared. And actually immediately after we cleared. So we thank God that he made the church to change. But we didn't really celebrate. Immediately the church was consecrated, a story came. A story came about a rape. And that's about that somebody came, in fact, not even telling me. They had gone to the children's office, and they had gone to and they said that I had raped a girl, and that the girl is I'm sued, that already I've been involving myself to a relationship of a minor. And it was like, no. I remember that they had come from a seminar all the way from Kangaru. And arriving, I found some officers at my place, and that was the story. And then they told me that I've been invited to the children's office a couple of times and I had not attended. None of the said dates that I was summoned were true. I even had not seen any summoning. Nobody had told me about the story. But the story started and it was painful. That changed the joy I had. That actually made me shed tears. And I didn't know what to do again. I tried to follow the matter. And here the story was very, very serious because the lady was staying, the said lady was staying in our house. The said lady, we had actually incorporated her in our house because the mother had just gotten married, and my wife thought that staying in our place would help her to not to look like they have gone into a new house with adults, and so she thought she would stay with our children. She was an age to my son, my firstborn son, who was 20 years, and the lady was also 20 years, and initially I had not really understood, or I really didn't want to have people in my house. I thought I would stay with my children, though they would stay at Kene, which was our place, and I would stay in the parish. But because I had a vehicle by then, I would be making to commute or even go with my children, stay in the vicarage with them for the week, and then come back over the weekend after the church. But now the story comes that I am found in this mess, and it was very devastating. We thought it was just a story said. I thought it's just a story that is formed, and I went to my wife, and my wife said, "I'm just told about the story. We want to know the truth." She was almost getting mad, and I was like, "You remember, we went through a time that was not very comfortable because I had told you I didn't want to have any stranger in my house over the holiday." That was December holiday 2007. 2006, 2007, December. That is 2006 going to 2007. And that time my wife goes for marking, and she had gone for marking, and the lady stayed with us for the whole month. So I didn't go. I didn't bother really carrying my children. My children were in the house, the school house for the holiday. I would only appear on Sunday afternoon, be there Monday and Tuesday, go back to the parish. And that's my routine even today. And the story started, and here I am told I'm already reported to the children's office, reported of a relationship, with a minor. When the case starts, the story goes to where they're supposed to be, but it was very, very tedious. I tried to talk to the girl, and the girl was not really ready to respond. Actually, the whole story was not coming from her; it was from the mother and from the social. And so the story was bad, which actually we cased. It is brought from the children's office, went to the court, and for 3 years we were on it, and in 3 years we couldn't win the case. We were convinced to be in prison. Money exchanged hands, and the story carried us to the court. Actually, I was sentenced to a 20 years imprisonment.
For real?
Yes, 20 years imprisonment for a rape that I never had, because I don't know what I lacked to be a rapist. I didn't know whether it's because my language would not be good, or was not handsome enough to talk to a lady and listen to me, or anything like that. I don't want to be rude, but listen to me.
And again, a minor in this case.
Again, a minor. To the truth, actually, the lady was not a minor. was at 20 years, only that she was in Form 4 after having gone some very queer kind of life, because she had gone to the school, she had gotten pregnant, had aborted earlier, and then in the process of the case we learned that they even had some relationship with very close members of the family, and at times with the doctors, and it was a very, very bad story even to listen to. And then here I am included, and again, I tried to even to ask my bishop to talk to the family, which he tried, and the family was not ready to listen. So they insisted we go to court, and the court was there listening to stories that were not. And lastly, I was imprisoned. I was imprisoned to a 20 years imprisonment. 20 years is not a simple thing. But I was positive. I felt even if it came, I would still go and handle it. Not because it was so easy to say yes, not because it was something that I would have just embraced, but because again, I felt we had already fought. We had done all what we could. My lawyer had gone through the procedures, and we knew we were winning. Actually, we would tell that this didn't happen because every sign was telling us there was no rape in this matter. But I was jailed as a rapist, and this time for 20 years.
The pastor carrying the revival.
Yes, and in prison this time. On my sentence day, we were sentenced with 6 others. 4 were sentenced to we call it death. They were actually condemned, and 2 of us 20 years each. And the 4 were ready to have a drama. And actually they started thinking and planning about the drama when we were in the cells. And when you're locked in, people talk freely, and so these people started telling each other, we are going to we will not go to prison, we will not go. And therefore when the vehicle comes, and they planned how they are going to escape. And that's where I started seeing why why I'm already sentenced. Because I told them, you cannot kill yourself. That's one. Number 2, this is only a written paper. The sentence is not the end. And I told them, killing yourself will be like a coward, and you're not supposed to be cowards. Those say that somebody died in your hands and you are condemned does not mean that you're dead yourself. And again, nobody has given proof on who killed whoever I said, but those other periphery stories are given. I had not handled any other case, but I had words to tell them, and they listened to me. And as we were going into the vehicle, the police came, and I was handcuffed with one of those who were ready to escape. And I was like, God help us here. And however, they listened to me. We landed in prison, and I kept on telling them, even when we were queuing and we were being admitted, I kept on telling them, you even will leave prison before I do. And true to it, it happened. After they went, all of us went to about 3 years, and after appealing, they were actually allowed by the first appeal. And my first appeal didn't allow me out. My first appeal actually bounced. It went to a hand of a lady. And she thought a clergy being in prison for a rape issue is a big issue. Dismissed my file and wrote a section of law that was not even relating to whatever had happened into my files. And actually it became my ground for the second appeal. I'm cutting the story short, and I want to say it was truly traumatizing to find myself in prison. And the dismissing of my case became again the change of a story. The first 3 years I had hated women. I didn't want to talk to a lady. even officers. I didn't want to see them close. I felt they destroyed me. They destroyed the ministry. They hurt me. And therefore I was comfortable talking to others, even about Christ. I never ceased to testify about Jesus Christ. I continued ministering. I didn't know prison were people who were saved and serious with the Lord. I didn't know there were people who would actually speak heaven answers. And I was lucky to be placed in a house where everybody calls heaven and would cry to the Lord day in, day out. Our house, you couldn't just enter from anywhere. We must have to assess you, know that you are truly born again. If you came calling yourself a Christian and truly you're not born again, would discover you and chase you out of the house.
In prison.
In prison, there is a house. There is a house.
Okay.
A house that is for believers.
Okay.
And even if somebody else will be brought and is not a believer, you will be told why that person is coming. Maybe to correct that person, or maybe somebody who is remorseful. And therefore, I was put in this house. You can imagine the pastor I would be now. And that place in my Jonjo clothes, and that Jonjo suit, and I would preach Christ. People would get saved. And I thank God, today I find people who knew Christ in my time when I was in prison.
Wow.
Prison time was not really very comfortable, but they were not hurting because God gave me a new ministry. I started teaching. I never knew that I was a good teacher until when I was admitted as a teacher. I was made a principal of a school from standard 1, from nursery actually, to form 4, and I would see candidates running through my hands. I would administrate, lead teachers and all that, and I would see things happen. People who didn't know how to write and read, reading and writing from my hands. I would see killers, people who was very serious thugs, killers, robbers, getting Christ as Lord and Savior. And so I found another platform.
Wow.
To an extent, when I came for my first appeal, because I stayed in Kirwea for a period, Nyeri decided to ask me to be taken to Nyeri so that I may preach in Citizen TV. And I would preach to the world until people would say, that's not a prisoner. That must be a bold minister. I wasn't bold. I was ministering from the prison as a prisoner.
Wow.
And I thank God for what God could do. That even today I'm proud that I went through the system.
Wow.
It's not that I would want to be there because it's limiting. But at the end of the day, I faced people that I would not face just in a normal ministry. And today I have access to the prison and I'm able to reach those people that need to be reached. Thank God for that opportunity.
Wow.
And this I say it with a lot of vigor that prison is not comfortable. It's not a sweet place. But people should learn to walk with God. Even when names are mentioned against them, that is placed upon their lives and things look like they are not going the right direction. God will not let them suffer. They will not be destroyed. Instead, He will walk with them and make them become the persons they are. Even when it looks like they are really downtrodden, like they are finished, that they are no people. I thought that I would now be finished. I thank God. I came out. I came out victoriously. I came out as a believer. I came out with a testimony. I came out and gathered people to celebrate with. And I remember the first service we had for Thanksgiving. People came to cry with me and to rejoice with me.
And from finally the appeal went through?
Yes, my second appeal went through. This time I didn't have even a lawyer. But I had studied, I had gone through my papers well. And again, I knew what was the truth. Placing it on the bench of the three judges, they had nothing else to do other than to acquit me. Not only to acquit me, but also exonerate me. Exoneration means that they also went down, saying that even that the person who actually sentenced me didn't really look into the whole matter, didn't really look into what really had surrounded me. And therefore, I was sentenced because I was a reverend, I was a minister, and they majored on that, which was verbatim, and which was actually so open, so real, written, and it was legible. Wow. And I thank God for the Kenya court that allowed my appeal and called me to go out and minister. Wow. And I thank God. I thank God that outside I have ministered not only from the grounds, but also from the front, not as a follower, but also as a leader. To a point of leading a diocese. Okay. Leading a diocese is not a small thing. Leading a diocese for 8 months, not only some time, and facing fights because they referred even to the case that I was in prison, and it was almost resurfacing, and people were creating story, and it was also it was almost messing me again. But I thank God that I had learned how to walk, and I thank God today as an archdeacon with all the responsibility to serve and to serve in situations which are challenging, and this time serve with that care that anything can fall into the hands of a minister and find himself in a mess. Not even when they have done wrong. Even not because actually they have purpose to do what is not right. I'm not saying that clergy are right, and I'm not saying that I'm an angel. I'm saying at times things may happen on your way which can be handled, but and they should not be measured on as though it's like the end of the world. And because everything after a short thought, after a short handling, it can be handled, and a minister can continue ministering, and other people can heal their wounds and walk. I'm walking in Jesus with joy. Wow. My family was not dismantled. My family stood. They stood with me all through. In the process, I lost my dad. In the process, I lost my firstborn. However, my family never left me. They stood with me, and I'm glad.
You lost them when you were in prison?
Yeah, when in prison. I didn't go for their burial.
Oh.
Yeah, I didn't go for their burial.
I'm sorry about that.
But good thing is that they went in the Lord. And
you said you still had the zeal to serve Christ even when you're going all through that. And I want to imagine that's where you are drawing your strength.
Yes.
Is that the only thing, the fact that you're believing in God, or what are other factors that were making you still strong when you're in prison and when you're going all this madness and you're still able to start strong? Or is there a time you went into depression out of all these things?
Not really depression. Because I had like handles to step on. I had because one of the things is like when I was sentenced among others with heavier sentence. So other than getting crushed, I found somewhere to land, helping somebody. And then we were even moved from the lower prison to a higher prison, which was maximum, together. So I kept on talking to them, and they kept on referring to me as somebody who is helping them. So I didn't really concentrate on what happened.
Your issues, yes.
Second thing is that my family came right at the right time, and came telling me that they are going to stand with me, and they are not going to let me suffer. I remember telling my wife that she'll wear my trouser and become the man and play her role and my role when I'm not there, even where decisions are supposed to be made. And she said she would, in tears, but I knew there was somebody taking care, and she did. It wasn't so easy, but I knew that it was going to happen. There were challenges inside, because prisoners are prisoners, and at times they behave very queerly. But one good thing was that they kept on referring to me as pastor. So every other time when things were not very comfortable, I would talk to them. Thank God that I left the prison as a trustee, and a trustee in prison is a very important person. I kept on trying to talk to those people. I trained in the process as a paralegal. So those small things, given responsibility, having time to preach to these people, leading the church inside, becoming a paralegal, made me become a strong person. So those times that I would be really down, I would go to some files and count myself somebody who is going to help somebody. So instead of focusing into what I was going through, I kept on looking into what I would do to become a help to somebody. And counting that I was helping somebody helped me to heal faster. I accepted the situation that I was inside and that I was not free. So I didn't really struggle with what was happening outside. Although at times things would come and situations would be told about me, about me too, and even about what was happening at home, and I would find was hard to handle, but that I had also the pastors in the premises. I had also other leaders who are listening to me, including the officer in charge. I would refer to them, tell them what I'm going through, and it made my life easy. I would laugh when I was in, just like I laugh today when I'm out.
Have you forgiven the people who made your life to be that hard and that painful? Is it possible to forgive such?
Indeed. What made me come out of prison was forgiveness. Okay. The first, I said, if I came out in during the first trial, the first appeal, I would have hated women all through. I don't know what I would be doing as a clergy today. Because I didn't want to see any woman around me. And I had bitterness until God asked me. And it was a serious talk in prayer, and he asked me, are you going to leave your wife and your daughter? And the answer was, I couldn't. And he said, it's not finished yet with you. Go and you'll serve me. You have to change. And I had to shed tears. That made me forgive the family that had accused me, and I purposed to let them know that I forgave them. That is even why I was going to the press to tell the nation that I forgave these people, and I am ready to walk free from any accusation, or with all the accusation, ready to carry the load, having forgiven them and continue serving the Lord. And that actually healed me, and that opened doors for me. And forgiveness is a prison itself, and make many people mess their lives. And I pray that every person, even when they are in darkness, when they are in quagmire of not knowing what to do, would learn to forgive. Because that will open their mind, release their hearts, and give them freedom, not only from outside, but from within, and making them walk in a free world.
Wow.
Like I do.
Guys, that was tough. Living in prison for how many years?
5 years.
5 years for a mistake that you never did. Coming out and being able to forgive those who have made you go through that. Me, I think I need your God of forgiveness, because some things are so hard to forgive.
Amen.
And thank you so much for sharing this story.
Amen.
Guys, you'll forgive me. I know you're feeling like this interview is rushed. Yes, it is rushed for reasons that we are not able to avoid. But man of God, I think the greatest lesson I'm picking is able to forgive that, and also now you're giving our channel a meaning, living positively regardless. You're going to prison and you're telling people, guys, you know what, you're not going to run away from this, you're going to do this. That was so much positive energy.
Even when one is in prison, even when one is actually sentenced to whatever, should actually remember there is hope. Hope.
Wow.
And should forgive. Forgiveness will give them joy.
Wow.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much
for coming.
I'm grateful.
I thank God that you have been able to share your story.
Thank you.
And I believe it shall be an inspiration.
Amen.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Anybody short?
It's good to take care of others. Tell them the truth. Don't speak ill about people, and don't mess their lives. It's also very good when your heart, to learn to release the heart. And remember that God is in control of all situations. You will be victorious at all times.
Amen.
Thank you so much.
Amen. Thank you, guys. Bye for now.